Welcome to the pre-show for Making Home Possible with Council for the Homeless. My name is Kelly Russell, and I'm so glad to be back again this year as your host for this amazing event. This is our chance to come together to prevent and end homelessness in Clark County. So make sure you stay tuned to meet the new Council for the Homeless Executive Director and hear a compelling keynote from Dr. Greg Colburn, author and professor at University of Washington. Now, if you'd like captions for today's event in either English or Spanish, simply click the Show Captions button below this viewing screen. And if you need any tech help today, please text or call our tech support line at 503-564-3044. We've got folks ready to help. Get settled, say hello to this amazing community of supporters in the chat window on the right, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Making Home Possible. I'm Kelly Russell, your host for today, and I'm honored to be back with you again this year to support the critical mission of Council for the Homeless to prevent and end homelessness in Clark County. Together, we can make that happen. Make sure you say hello in the chat window to the right. Captions are also available in English and Spanish, so simply click the Show Captions button below. And if you need any tech help today, please text or call our tech support at the number on the screen. Joining us now to share an important message is board member Beth Cook.
I'm honored to be here today welcoming all of you to our annual luncheon, Making Home Possible. As a board member at Council for the Homeless, I'd like to open the space today I'm honored to be here today welcoming all of you to our annual luncheon, Making Home Possible. As a board member at Council for the Homeless, I'd like to open the space today with a statement of commitment and gratitude. Here at the Council, we recognize and do not take lightly that I'm honored to be here today welcoming all of you to our annual luncheon.
Hello, everyone, and again, welcome to Council for the Homeless, Making Home Possible. Stay with us for just a second. We are experiencing a slight technical difficulty, but we will be back with you in just a few moments to hear from Beth Cook.
I'm honored to be here today welcoming all of you to our annual luncheon, Making Home Possible. As a board member at Council for the Homeless, I'd like to open the space today with a statement of commitment and gratitude. Here at the Council, we recognize and do not take lightly that we reside, work, and play on lands that were historically stewarded by the indigenous peoples of the lower Columbia River. We also recognize that our housing system continues to perpetuate systemic racism. We at Council for the Homeless are deeply committed to creating a community of caring and thoughtful stewardship in which all people have a place to call home, food on the table, and a sense of safety and community. Our commitment is to work collaboratively with and in community. Our commitment is to work collaboratively with and in community to dismantle the systems of oppression while honoring and learning from the wisdom and caring of the land and community that comes from the indigenous peoples of the lower Columbia River. We are so grateful for our staff, our community partners, our neighbors, and you, participants who are here today. A heartfelt thank you for sharing in our vision, for helping to make home possible, for working toward creating a just, plentiful, and sharing community where we can all sleep safely and wake to live with compassion and purpose. With a greeting to you from our board of directors, please welcome our chair, John Kendrick.
Thank you, Beth, for that important statement on behalf of Council for the Homeless. Good afternoon to you all. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today. Some of you are joining us from small gatherings at businesses, organizations, and homes throughout Southwest Washington. Others are joining from their home or office. The best part of a virtual event is the span of its reach, allowing us to be together wherever we are. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. It's all of us coming together like this that is going to continue to make Clark County home for all who want to live here, to celebrate our community and call attention to those who are without a home who need our help. Council for the Homeless and local community members created an art display called A Home for Everyone. Artist and former Evergreen School District art teacher Jennifer Smith painted the 6 background panels of Clark County. Holly Williams teaches origami at Burnt Bridge Cellars and led the creation of the origami houses and animals. Kate Altenhoff Long brought the elements together for display. We're happy to share some images of this work with you today. This has been such a rich community building project, and we're grateful for everyone's work. I live and work in Southwest Washington, so for me, the work we do together for Council for the Homeless is personal in many of the same ways it is for you. When I was in high school, due to several losses in my family, I found myself without a home base and had to couch surf to finish school and get my diploma. I was reliant on the support of others at a critical time. And when I realized how essential interdependence was for me, it left a large impression on me that I have carried ever since. I've been passionate about social health my whole career and want to do all that I can to support that for everyone in our community. Having a home is a critical piece of both individual and community health and well-being. Serving on the board of Council for the Homeless is deeply impactful for me. This organization helps people during their crisis of homelessness while also driving strategy and advocacy from a preventative angle. Since its beginning, Council for the Homeless has been a leader in helping set strategy for Southwest Washington. We gather and share essential data. We're showing where the needs are the biggest, and together, we can work to set a direction for Clark County to prevent and end homelessness. I'd like to take a minute to thank my fellow board members for their dedication to this work. We're excited to have several new members whose fresh perspectives and fervent advocacy I learn from every single day. One of the things I'm most excited about today is that I get to introduce you to the new Council for the Homeless Executive Director, Cecily Fenney-Jones. Our board did a national search, and as soon as we met Cecily, we knew we had a match. Her compassion is palpable as soon as you talk to her. Her commitment to equity is unwavering, and her dedication to end homelessness is inspiring. She's going to do amazing things, and I can't wait to see what the future looks like under her leadership. Please join me in welcoming Cecily.
Thanks, John, for that wonderful introduction. It's an honor to be here with you today, and an even bigger honor to be the new Executive Director of Council for the Homeless. This incredible organization has been a leader in this space for years, building coalitions and partnerships to create a community of impact for and with those experiencing homelessness. The effectiveness of this organization is one of the biggest strengths that brought me to the Council for the Homeless. The other is the amazing community that Council is a part of. Our fellow nonprofit organizations, businesses, faith community partners, elected officials, board, donors, supporters, and volunteers are the heartbeats of this work. Thank you for all you do. I look forward to meeting you all soon and continuing to do this work together.
Welcome, Cecily. We're so glad to have you. You know a good way that we can make her feel welcome? I do, with a gift, of course, and it is so easy to do. Simply click the amount that you'd like to give below this window or text CFTH to the number 44321. At any point in today's program when you feel inspired, you can donate. And if you need help, just text or call the support number on the screen. Let's thank some of our donors who have already jumped in and said yes to preventing and ending homelessness. And before we even begin, we want to acknowledge our sponsors whose support is already reflected in the thermometer. They have been so generous. We could not do this work without you all. So to our sponsors, we thank you so very much. All right. Before we get started and recognizing some folks, I want to let you all know we have an incredible matching opportunity today. Steve and Jo Marie Hansen said they will match the first 50 gifts of $500 today. 50 gifts of $500 today. That is $25,000 of support. So we want to give a big thank you to Steve and Jo Marie Hansen for this incredible match. So I encourage you to go ahead and click on that $500 button and make a gift right now. Leading us off today, we would like to recognize a bunch of our longtime supporters. Board member Beryl Robinson, thank you so much for your gift of $10,000. We have an anonymous donor who's stepped up at $10,000. Thank you very much. We have longtime supporters, Jan and Steve Oliva, making a gift of $10,000 as well. This is an incredible start, friends. We have an anonymous donor who said, you can count on me at $5,000, and we thank you for that gift. We have another anonymous donor who said, me too. You can count on me too. I'm giving $5,000 as well, so thank you as well. And of course, we have Craig and Cheryl Miller at $5,000, and board member Beth Cook, who you just heard from, and the Cook Family Foundation, making a gift of $5,000. This is incredible. I love it. Look at that thermometer climb. I love this. Nicola and Robert Denny made a gift of $500. That is going to be matched. We're going to double that. Terry Cobb and Julie Ozane at $500 as well. That will also be matched. This is an incredible start, friends. I'm so excited about this. Look at this, Chuck Green at $100. Thank you so much for your gift. Kimberly Hall at $50. We have Nicole Arneson at $100. Thank you. And Mark and Elizabeth Oliver at $1,000. Thank you all so much for your generosity. What a great start to our program. So thank you all for your support so far. We're going to check back in on our fundraising goal in just a few minutes. So keep those donations coming. Just click the button above or text CFTH to the number 44321. To talk to us about what Council for the Homeless has been up to lately, I'd like to introduce you to board member Louise Nieto.
Thank you, Kelly. At Council for the Homeless, we believe that housing is a basic human need, just like food, water, and air. And we believe everyone has a critical part in responding to homelessness. Over the past year, we've continued to make these beliefs central in all we do. Our fundamental goal is to make homelessness rare, and if or when it does occur, that it is brief and it happens just once. And we are so excited to do this work under the leadership of Cecily Finney Jones. This is our work, helping people in crisis to secure a home and the supports they need to maintain it, providing rent assistance to people at risk of homelessness, at the same time engaging in the big picture work of policy and advocacy to make positive change at all levels, and especially at the community level. We strive to bring an equity lens to our work so that no matter who you are, where you come from, what language you speak, you can experience ready and welcome access to assistance. And if you are non-white, you can expect as strong of a positive housing outcome as people who are. More than ever, we are aware of the relationship between affordable housing and homelessness. Clark County continues to experience high rents and a very low vacancy rate. A greater supply of affordable housing means fewer people will experience homelessness. It also means people ending their homelessness will have a permanent place to live as they move forward with their lives. Some highlights of this past year include our increased emphasis on outreach to people living in encampments and cars, adding 6 CFTH staff, each with lived experience of homelessness, with a focus on building trust and helping people break down the barriers to effectively move into housing. Staff walk alongside people through their entire process and continue to follow up after they find a new home. Collaboration with partner agencies is expanding the reach and effectiveness of outreach. Opening our latest apartment complex, the Meridian, for people ending their homelessness is also a big part of this work. Another amazing highlight is leading an initiative to support youth in our community experiencing homeless on their own without an adult or guardian. This work takes training, skill, and heart, something we and our partners are committed to every day. All of this is possible because of investment, and as a result, we're helping more persons of all ages move into stable places to live. Continued investments mean we can do more and help more people. It is critical that we continue to engage more partners, find more solutions, create efficiency to increase impact, and expand both services and housing. Housing is a basic human need, and it's imperative that we all do our part. We hope you will join us. Progress is being made, and I thank you all for being here today and for joining us in this work together. That's how progress will continue.
For over 30 years, Council for the Homeless has been the backbone of the homeless crisis response system in Clark County. And it's the support of people like you that will help continue make that possible. So to donate today, click the amount you'd like to give below or text CFTH to the number 44321. At this time, I'd like to thank some more of our incredible donors. And I want to remind you too, don't forget, we have this incredible matching opportunity, this wonderful challenge that's out there. So far we have 2 gifts that we've matched, and we need to reach 50 gifts total. I know we can do it. We've matched 2 at the $500 level. I see more coming in already. So let's keep working on that match. All right, let's give a big warm thank you to Bill and Beth Froman for their $3,000 gift. We have Lori and Rod Limley at $2,500. Thank you so much. Cascade Presbyterian Church at $2,500. Thank you. Our very first executive director, Gail Rothrock, is making a gift of $2,500. Thank you, Gail. We have Larry and Joanne Lindberg at $2,000 and board member Adrian Strelo at $1,000. Thank you all so much. And we will check back in on our donations in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, I'm excited to introduce you to James Hill, who will be sharing his story with us.
How was your day?
Good.
Good. Anything good happened today?
Yes.
What happened?
I made new friends with Shelby.
I am from Austin, Texas. Then I lived in Austin up until I was about 23 years old. And then I moved out to Washington State. I was an electronic technician.
That's good. You have homework?
Yes.
Yes.
I have to read.
You have to read.
My granddaughter always brings excitement when she walks in through the door. So where things took a change in my life was when my father passed away, and not long after that, I was divorced. And it was my first time experiencing what depression felt like. I was living in a duplex by myself, working every single day. When I would get off work, I would head to the bar. At work, no one knew anything that was going on with me. I started isolating myself from a lot of people. In 2015, I got a phone call from Texas that my, at the time, 15-year-old daughter just had a baby. So what really started my motivation in making the change in my life was the notification that my daughter was coming. I really had to get my life together. However, I had no place to live. So I had, it was myself, my 16-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old granddaughter living in our vehicle some nights or bouncing from couch to couch for about 4 months. If I had never connected with Council for the Homeless, I really can't say where I would be right now. And when they came through with helping me to get permanent housing, I still was not in belief until the keys were actually in my hand. The feeling was tremendous to actually walk in and say I'm home. Nothing else compares.
It was heading for
Self-advocacy led me into being able to give back to Council for the Homeless.
There is a significant and very serious lack of affordable housing in our community. And we, Council for the Homeless, existing in the homeless crisis response system, need and rely on the community to advocate for affordable housing across all of Clark County.
So being able to help out on this steering committee really makes me feel great, honestly. To come from a position of being homeless to now being able to have input on some of the changes to the programs that affect the homelessness in Vancouver is kind of full circle for me.
He has a way of connecting with people that will really help empower folks to believe in themselves and see themselves in the same light that James sees them and that they deserve to be seen.
I feel that it's important to know that my story is just one story in the many of thousands and millions of stories out there. And homelessness looks different for everyone. Homelessness has a different face for everyone, but homeless does not have a color. My granddaughter Venus really saved my life in a lot of ways. With the responsibility of her and my daughter solely relying upon me, put me in a position that I hadn't been in years. It was a great place to be, but a scary place to be at the same time. And so being able to really step up and provide a life for them, to provide a home for them, was the biggest reward, honestly, that the council gave me.
Might just be my everything. Me, oh my, I explain. She might just be my everything.
Thank you, James, for sharing your journey and for being an advocate, helping people have the confidence to move forward in their lives. This work requires resources, and that's what we're here to expand together today. So to support the critical work of Council for the Homeless, I'm going to ask you all to text CFTH to the number 44321 or click on the screen below. All gifts of any amount make a difference. And whether it's providing rental assistance, connecting people to an emergency shelter, or other critical resources, we all win when everyone has a home. So join us and text CFTH to the number 44321. I want to see who's in with us today. And we have some $500 gifts coming in. Oh, I'm so excited about this. They're all going to be matched. I want to give a big thank you to Joan and Scott Ruste. Thank you for your $500 gift. We have our sponsor, OTAC, is making an additional gift of $500. Thank you so much, OTAC. Board member Roman Vasquez, thank you for your gift of $500. Former board member Gary Akizuki, thank you for your gift, Gary. We appreciate that. Board member Luis Nieto, thank you for your $500 gift. We have John Dieter saying yes to $500. Thank you, John. Board member Ralph Parker at $500 as well. This is incredible, friends. That is 9 gifts. We're up to 9 gifts at $500 that are being matched, and we want to keep going. Let's make that match a reality today. All right, more gifts are rolling in. Oh, wow, look at this. Jane Nicolai, thank you. We have Denise Gessler, thank you for your gift. Board member Joan Cayley at $300. Thank you, Joan. Amy Reynolds, $500. That's another gift that's going to be matched. Thank you so much. We have an anonymous donor at $100. Roseanne Lynch at $100. Thank you so much. Mary June McLaren at $100. Aaron Stepanek at $100. Thank you very much. Mary Lynn Stender, thank you for your $100 gift. Fred and Judith Lindgren, thank you for your $100 gift. This is amazing, friends. Margaret Dodd gives $100. Edward Gill gives $100. Susan and Randy Lanford give $100. Thank you. Cheryl Olson at $100. Bill and Linda Timer at $100. Mike and Sheila Osherhoff, thank you for your $100 gift. We have Stanley Kershaw, Autumn Connolly, Mary Strelo, all at $100. Thank you to each of you. Lori Schatt, thank you at $50. Christy Murrow, thank you. An anonymous donor at $50. Thank you. you. Sharon Wiley at 100. Julie Bocanegra, thank you for your gift of $50, excuse me. Sean Gregory, $500 being matched. Thank you so much, Sean. We have Leslie Conboy at 50. Marvin Lamar Bryant at 500. Thank you for your gift. Jennifer Rhodes giving a $500 gift, and you know what that means. You guessed it. It's going to be matched. We're up to 12, friends. We're up to 12 if you're counting. Scott Reed at $100. Abigail Soto, thank you for your gift. Another anonymous $250 gift, thank you. This is incredible. Dawn Leonard, thank you for your gift. Another anonymous $250 gift. Incredible, thank you so much. Andrew Silver is making a gift of $1,500. Thank you, Andrew, for that wonderful gift. Board member Chris Gibbons at $1,500. Christine and Tony Billick at $1,100. Thank you for that wonderful gift. We have board chair John Kendrick making a gift of $1,000. Thanks, John. I know you're here in the studio. Board members Cheryl Pfaff and Dave Pfaff at $1,000. Thank you so much. Former executive director Kate Budd making a gift. It's good to have you here, Kate. Andy Silver and Margie Solinger at $1,000. Thank you. Heather Beecher and Ken Nita at $1,000. This is incredible, friends. Stephen and Carolyn Langler at $1,000. Thank you so much. We have board member Monica Stonier at $2,000. This is incredible. And an anonymous donor at $1,200. Friends, this is amazing. And we're not done. The gifts keep rolling in. Brenda Schallenberger at $500. We're going to match it. Thank you so much. Sue Meyer Kling and Carl Kling at $600. And you know what? We're going to match that as well. We are up to 15 gifts that have been matched. Friends, we need everyone to dig deep and give generously at that $500 level. Look at this. Kathleen Crucius and To The Point Collective at $250. Thank you. Pastor Jean and John DeVole Donaldson at $20. Thank you very much. We have an anonymous donor making a gift of $25. Catherine Wilson at $100. Alan Melnick at $100. Holly and Kenneth Williams at $300. Michael Lynch at $250. These are such incredible gifts. Thank you all for these wonderful gifts. Kim Hash, thank you for your gift. Skipper Main and Gary O'Callahan at $100. Stan Hossman at $100. Alan Willis at $100. Nancy Kingston at $100. Helen Peters at $100. This is just so incredible. I love this support. I love to see it. We have an anonymous donor making a $50 gift. Jessica Feynman at $100. Paula Martin, thank you for your gift. Vanessa Gaston at $100. Another anonymous gift. I love all these anonymous gifts. Thank you all. Brian Monroe makes a gift. Sharif Birdzik at $100. Michelle Woolert at $250. Thank you. Christina Salisbury. Wendy Watson at $250. Barbara Meredith makes a gift. Karen Kameroff at $250. We have Kendall Leeper making a gift. Clara Johnson making a gift. This is amazing. Shayna O'Brien making a $500 gift. Thank you, Shayna. That one will be turned into $1,000 thanks to your generosity. Christy Kubecki, thank you for your $50 gift. Anna Rydell for $50. Deborah Carnes May at $100. Thank you. Tracy Fernandez at $100. Matthew Linemick at $100. Thank you very much. Leslie Hayes at $100. This is incredible, friends. The list keeps going. Don Horner at $200. Thank you so much. Vanessa Gaston at $500. We'll see that it's matched. Thank you so much. Patrick Quinlan, thank you for your gift. Savannah McEwen, thank you for your $100 gift. Heidi Bixby making a gift of $500. We're going to match it. Chris and Kevin O'Hara, thank you at $100. Brittany, thank you so much for your gift at $100. That's Brittany Lisane. Thank you so much. Terry Eaton at $100. And Brendan Sanchez giving a gift of $500 that is going to be matched. We are up to 20 gifts of $500 that are going to be matched. Friends, we need 30 more friends to help us at that $500 level. So if you can make a gift of $500, please do so to support our friends in Clark County and making home possible. I want to say a big thank you to everyone for your support today. Keep those gifts coming, and we'll check back in a few minutes. I'd like to welcome John Kendrick back to the stage. John?
Wow, thanks, Kelly. And thank you all to our outstanding donors. As we've said throughout today's event, we could not do this work without your support. I'd like to take a minute to thank our event sponsors who have made this Making Home Possible luncheon possible. Thank you to our gold sponsors, Access Architecture, Northwest Natural, Peace Health, Real Vest, and Vancouver Housing Authority. Our silver sponsors, Bernard Barge Lines, Columbia Credit Union, Kaiser Permanente, Legacy Health, LSW Architects, Southwest Washington High Technology Council, River Community Bank, Twin Star Credit Union, Team Construction LLC, and Vancouver Clinic. Our bronze sponsors: Beacon Health Options, Beautiful Savior Lutheran Church, Cascadia Northwest Real Estate, Church of the Good Shepherd, Columbia River Mental Health Services, Community Health Plan of Washington, Congregation Cole Ami, Dick Hanna Dealerships, Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Johnson Bigsby, Key Property Services, On Point Community Credit Union, OTAC, Providence Health and Services, Quantum Residential, St. Andrew Lutheran Church, St. Joseph Catholic Church, and U.S. Bank, and friends of Council for the Homeless, Blue Star Transportation, Columbia Bank, Davidson and Associates Insurance, and Heritage Bank. Special thanks to the Vancouver Housing Authority for supporting Dr. Colburn's time with us today, and Morel Inc. for sponsoring all our luncheon printing, including the amazing mugs shared with watch party hosts and attendees. Your dining certificates were brought to you through a partnership of River City Church, Blue Door Bakery, and the Mighty Bowl. Thank you to all these generous community partners for stepping into this work with us. I'm very excited now to introduce today's keynote speaker, Dr. Greg Colburn. A professor at University of Washington, Dr. Colburn has done extensive research on housing policy, affordable housing, homelessness, and social policy. His research has shown that the homelessness crisis can be impacted by having more truly affordable housing in the community. Let's welcome Dr. Colburn.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. Council for the Homeless, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here as part of the Making Home Possible event today. I'm going to share for the next 15 minutes or so a brief discussion of a book that I published with my co-author Clayton Aldern back in March. And the book is called Homelessness as a Housing Problem. I moved to the region, to the Seattle region in 2017 to begin my work at the University of Washington, and I got quickly involved in community conversations and efforts around the issue of housing precarity and homelessness. And I had an observation fairly early on that I was really concerned when I left meetings that people didn't really understand what the root cause of this crisis was, and it continued to grow and grow. Concern grew and grew, and our responses ended up being a little bit scattershot because we weren't centering, in my opinion, what the root cause of this crisis was. And for that reason, I decided I want to write a book to help explain this. I was pleased to be joined by Clayton Aldern on this, who's a fantastic co-author, and we're pleased to have the book published in March of this year. Now, the data in this book comes from the largest cities in the country, but the messages and the takeaways from this are highly relevant to Clark County and Southwest Washington. In fact, what I'm really pleased about is the message of this book is starting to reach out. And so in addition to Clark County, in the next couple months, I'm going to be speaking in Spokane and Sun Valley, Idaho, and Boise, Idaho, Houston, Texas, Columbus, Ohio. Places that are beginning to grow, seeing pressure in the housing market and having growing concerns with homelessness. So while you'll hear me talk about San Francisco and Seattle a lot in this presentation, these messages and the experiences are highly relevant to your own community. So when we talk about homelessness and what's driving this, obviously it has a very emotional response on all of us. No one likes to see someone living on the street. We understand that that's not the way that life is meant to be lived. And so when we count, each jurisdiction in the country counts or creates an estimate of homelessness every January. It's called the point-in-time count. And in addition to counting people, we actually conduct surveys and we ask people, why are you experiencing homelessness? And what we'll see is a range of responses like you see here. This came from the King County point-in-time count in 2019. And you'll see divorce and eviction and drug use and inability to pay rent, and arguments with my roommates, and all these different explanations. And so when these explanations get communicated to the public, it's easy for us to say, boy, it seems like there are a lot of causes to homelessness. And so what complicates things, and what we try to do in this book, is draw a distinction between root causes of homelessness and precipitating events. I fundamentally do not believe that an argument with your roommate is the cause of homelessness. I do firmly believe that in the wrong set of circumstances, being kicked out of your apartment can lead to homelessness. And so what we really need to understand is the context and the circumstances that produce high levels of homelessness. So the easiest way that I've found to explain the difference between a precipitating event and a root cause is this analogy of musical chairs. Imagine a game of 10 friends playing musical chairs. There are 10 chairs and 10 friends. They stand up in a circle and they start walking around, and someone plays music. And when the leader pulls one chair out, stops the music, and then everyone scrambles for a chair. And by definition, someone is left without a chair. And in this case, it was Mike, who had an ankle injury, and he was on crutches. And when the music stopped, he was unable to move quickly and to get one of the chairs that were open. And so if we were to interview Mike at the end of the game and say, Mike, why do you think you lost the game? He would say, I had a bad ankle. And that makes perfect sense. Within the context and the rules of that game, Mike's ankle injury probably did prevent him from finding a chair. But if we take a step back and really think critically about what the cause of his chairlessness was, it was the fact that we didn't have enough chairs. Had we had 10 chairs, Mike would have found a chair. And this is really an analogy that's happening in many communities around the nation right now, which is when housing is scarce, vulnerabilities are accentuated. And it might not be ankle injuries, but it could be mental illness or drug use or poverty. Okay? So we know that drug use, mental illness, and poverty do cause homelessness at the individual level. They are key drivers of homelessness. But we also know that these conditions produce homelessness in some locations and not others. And so the purpose of the book is really to understand why is that the case. We know that homelessness rates vary substantially throughout the United States. For example, Seattle, King County has about 5 times the homelessness of Chicago. And so we ask, when you think about Portland and Seattle and San Francisco, do we have large homeless populations there because we have more people with these individual vulnerabilities? That's a perfectly plausible, reasonable explanation for the crisis, but it turns out it's not accurate. Okay? So this is a book about cities, not about people. People-focused research is very, very important, but in this book, we're focusing on cities. We want to understand why there are disproportionate rates of homelessness around the country. And if we can answer that question, it can hopefully help us put an end or put a dent in the problem of homelessness. The thesis of the book is that tight housing markets, where housing is expensive and where housing is scarce, accentuate individual vulnerabilities. And these individual vulnerabilities that we typically focus on, mental illness, drug use, poverty, serve as a sorting mechanism. They identify the people who are most likely to experience homelessness in a place without enough housing. So just to orient you a little bit in terms of the variation in rates of homelessness around the country, some communities count homelessness at the city level, some count at the county level, and when you're comparing, you need to make sure you compare apples to apples, so cities to cities and counties to counties. The purpose of this slide is to show that in both cities and counties, the relationship between high and low jurisdictions in terms of per capita rates of homelessness is about 5 to 1. In cities, it would be New York is about 5 times Indianapolis, and in counties, it's LA County, Santa Clara, King County, and Multnomah County. In Portland are about 5 times Hillsborough County. And so the purpose of the book is to explain that variation, and we believe that if we can explain that variation, we can then really focus our attention on ultimately what is driving this crisis. So there are 3 categories of explanations that we pursue. The first one is the individual explanation, which is, I think, the explanations that we typically focus on when we talk about homelessness. I'm not going to get into the statistics today because we don't have time, but the point here is that we're going to show relationships between variables like poverty and rates of homelessness. So in this graph, what you see is all the percentage of people living below the poverty line in each of these jurisdictions around the country. And what's interesting is what we see is, in fact, poverty, it does not predict homelessness. In fact, it's the opposite relationship. In places with higher rates of poverty, they actually have lower rates of homelessness. Think Detroit, Michigan. It's the most impoverished city in the country, but it has relatively low rates of homelessness. Homelessness thrives where poverty is relatively low. Seattle and San Francisco are 2 of the most affluent cities in the country and have 2 of the worst homeless populations in the country. So the problem with homelessness in Seattle and San Francisco is not that we have more poor people. In fact, we have fewer poor people. But the consequences of poverty are very different in those locations than elsewhere. This shows the relationship between serious mental illness and homelessness, and what you'll see is that there's 0 relationship here. There are places with more and less mental illness, serious mental illness, but it bears no relationship whatsoever to rates of homelessness. So the problem, and this is state-level data, the problem in California and Oregon and California is not that we have more people experiencing mental illness than anywhere else. It's just the consequences of those conditions are more severe and acute here. The same story with illicit drug use. There are drug users in every community around the country. And in many places, they stay housed, and in other places, they don't. So it's not the number of people who are using drugs, it's the context in which people are using drugs or experiencing mental illness. So the other thing that I hear a lot is there's something unique about the community. Since I live in Seattle, people say there's something unique about Seattle that's causing this crisis. And the first thing I hear is weather. I frequently hear, and I make this joke, that if I had a nickel for every time someone blamed homelessness on the weather, I wouldn't be rich, but I would have a lot more nickels than I have right now. Weather doesn't explain homelessness. It's easy to think of Los Angeles and San Diego and say, well, of course they have homelessness, the weather's warm, but we ignore the fact that Phoenix and Dallas and Miami also have warm weather and don't have problems with homelessness. We also ignore the fact that Boston and New York have two of the highest rates of homelessness in the country and are extremely cold in January. So while a convenient explanation, it doesn't hold up when you look at the data. So we can't blame Mother Nature for this crisis. I also frequently hear that generous benefits cause homelessness. It causes people to locate in a certain jurisdiction or location to take advantage of these benefits. This is data on TANF, which is the primary federal welfare program, typically for women and children, that has variation around the country, state by state. You'll see some states are very generous, some are very stingy, but we see no relationship between that and homelessness. We don't see people congregating in states with more generous benefits to take advantage of those benefits. A related story is the idea of people are moving here. I've heard this in Minnesota, I've heard it in Washington, I've heard it in California, I've even heard it in Ohio. Everyone believes they're a magnet for homelessness. The data do not support that argument. There are poor people moving to every jurisdiction in the country, but in fact, where there are more people moving actually have lower rates of homelessness. So places like Baltimore, St. Louis, Cleveland, and Detroit have much higher percentages of low-income migration than do places like San Francisco and Seattle. So it's not that we have this mobility. The mobility explanation doesn't hold up when we look at it. Okay? Generally speaking, homelessness is a homegrown problem. So the final category that we look at are housing market conditions. And this is the first time in a statistical sense that we start to see a much stronger relationship between our variables. Generally speaking, where rents are high, homelessness is high. And this is vacancy rates. When we see vacancy rates are low, we tend to see homelessness being much, much higher. And so while not a perfect prediction, homelessness is a very complex situation. I would never suggest that such a simple explanation could explain all variation. But the point is, if you were to put a blindfold on me and just say, Greg, here's a rental rate and a vacancy rate in a community, I could tell you with a fairly high degree of confidence whether you're going to have a problem with homelessness or not. And that's why jurisdictions and locations like Clark County and Boise and Sun Valley are starting to get concerned because they're seeing rents going up, they're seeing vacancies go down, and they're starting to get worried about the impact on low-income households and the threat of increasing homelessness. So the question then is and I'm not going to get into the math here because that's not what you came to this lunch for, but the point here is that we want to talk about is why do some places have high rents and low vacancies? This is really, really important. And we can certainly think about the demand side for housing, which is population growth. As more people move to a community and they have good jobs, there's more money to chase housing. And generally speaking, that will accelerate home prices. But we also need to think about housing supply. And there are places in the country where it's easy to build housing. Generally where you have flat land, meaning no challenging topography, where you have an easy regulatory environment, it's easy to build housing. There are other places like Seattle and San Francisco where it's much more difficult to build housing. And so when you plot cities by population growth and housing supply elasticity, so numbers on the left axis towards 3 would be places where you build a lot of housing. Numbers down towards 0 would be places where you don't build enough housing. So that's the supply side. And the bottom axis is population growth. And so what you'll see is that bottom right quadrant is really the recipe for a housing crisis. Okay? Rapid population growth and not building enough housing. And you'll see cities like Boston and San Francisco and Seattle in that lower right quadrant. And the numbers in parentheses are their vacancy rates. Now look up a little bit to that upper right-hand quadrant, which is the Sun Belt. There you'll see communities that have grown just as fast as Seattle and San Francisco and Boston, but they have built a whole bunch of housing in the process. Okay? And you'll see those vacancy rates are much, much higher there. And so ultimately, and they have some advantages that these other cities have in the sense that their topography, they don't have mountains and water to contend with. But ultimately, cities in that lower right-hand quadrant, and there are many others, need to figure out how are they going to respond to an ever-increasing population by building enough housing. Because if they don't, these rental and vacancy market dynamics will continue. And that's certainly the case in these fast-growing, smaller, mid-sized cities like here in Vancouver and Boise, et cetera. So ultimately, when we think about a response to this issue, people always say, fine, Greg, if you buy my, and you don't have to buy my argument, but if you do buy my argument, the question then would be, so what? One of the things that's a little challenging about this is when we shift from an individual explanation to homelessness to a structural explanation, it means that we all own this issue. And that's a little bit daunting. And that ultimately we need a lot more investments in housing to make sure we get there. So right now, typically our investments around the country, and I would assume that Clark County is very similar, that many of our investments are operating investments in the sense of providing an emergency response for people experiencing homelessness. And these are life-saving investments, and I'm grateful for these investments because they do provide shelter for folks and they do save lives of getting people off the street. And Council for the Homeless is actively involved in that activity. But let's be very clear that those investments are responses rather than an intervention to end homelessness, right? We're responding to the crisis as opposed to preventing it. And so communities also need to think about capital investments, and I know that, that Clark County is thinking about this as well, in the sense that we need to figure out how are we going to construct more housing to ensure that fewer people are falling into homelessness. And the additional housing will also make it far easier to get people out of that emergency response system. And so it's not one or the other, it's both. And for those of you involved in local policymaking, there are other levers of government that are really important. And that is, if housing is difficult to construct, we absolutely need to think about ways to make it easier to construct housing where needed. And so I'm a big believer that we should allow the private market to build a whole bunch of housing because we need that housing. That housing alone will not end the crisis of homelessness. We also need public support, nonprofit support to construct housing that's affordable for people with lower incomes. And so while daunting, there is a path to ending this. It will require political will, it will require resources, and it will require the good work of the people in Clark County to put a dent in this growing crisis. What makes this difficult? There are three things. One is building housing is a long-term solution. And we have a homelessness crisis raging in many cities that has an acute and immediate need. And therefore, we need to balance the issue of how do we deal with the current crisis of unsheltered homelessness while providing a long-term solution. We have the question of, should this be a private market or a public market or a public sector issue? And the answer is both. We need all elements of society working together here. And then we have the question if it's going to be the public sector, does it come from Washington, D.C., or does it come from local jurisdictions? And the reality is we could use help at both ends. One of my great frustrations in working on homelessness is when I hear people say, well, we have spent X in our community, X million dollars on homelessness, and the problem only has gotten worse. And then the conclusion that's reached is, then obviously these investments don't work. And I like to change the framing on that a little bit, which is those investments are really, really important, and had we not made those investments, the problem would have been much worse. And the fact that X dollars didn't work means that the scale of the problem has been far greater than our response. That's certainly the case up in Seattle where I spend my time. Okay? We have made large, big investments, but the scale of the problem is so big that we just need to be thinking about orders of magnitude more involvement and resource commitment given the scale of the problem. And that's daunting, and I understand that, especially if you're an elected leader. So to conclude here, I'm going to wrap up. What I hope you take away from this brief talk and from the book, if you end up reading it, is that we in the United States have typically focused on this issue as one that's individual. And I believe that if we continue to focus on this as an individual issue, it will undermine our efforts to end this issue overall. This is a structural problem, and structural problems require structural solutions. And a structural solution is building a lot more housing that's affordable for people with lower incomes. And so my last point here is that people will say, Greg, fine, all these charts, that's all well and good, but how do I know that housing will actually end homelessness? And I'll say, we know that to be true. Because 10 years ago, the United States at the federal level decided that we didn't want people coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, our veterans, to experience homelessness. And leaders of both political parties said, we want to put the resources to make sure that these folks don't experience homelessness. And we cut veteran homelessness by 50% in that decade. And how did we do that? We gave them housing. So ultimately, housing does end homelessness. This is a housing problem, and I really appreciate everyone's efforts to provide housing for folks who need it in your community. Thank you for the time. Thanks for the invitation, and back to you, Kelly.
Wow, that was a lot of incredible information, and I know what my next book is that I'm going to be reading. Thank you very much, Dr. Colburn. Let's continue our work together to impact homelessness. To support this work, text CFTH to the number 44321. Now let's take a minute to say thank you to our fantastic donors who have continued to give. All right, Monica Stonier, thank you so much, giving an additional $500. That's a second gift. Thank you so much for that wonderful gift. We appreciate you. We have another anonymous donor out there. Jeannie Kogis, thank you for your gift. Laura Ellsworth for your $100 gift. Thank you so much. Cirque Brom giving 4 gifts of $500. I like your style here. That's a total of $2,000. We're matching it 4 times. Thank you so much, Cirque, for that wonderful gift. Friends, that means we are halfway to our match. We're halfway there. I want to celebrate those 25 gifts that have already come in at that $500 level, and I want to see it added to the thermometer. I'm sure you do too, so let's do that. And that's $12,500 so far that is being matched, so this is exciting. I want to say a big thank you to Steve and Joe Marie Hansen again for this awesome matching challenge, and we're halfway there. We're halfway there. I think we can make it. We need 25 more gifts. All right, the giving is continuing. Timothy Hain, thank you for your gift. Diane and Jerry McWithy, thank you for your $100 gift. Thomas Winter, thank you at $250. Sharon Royal, thank you for your gift. Molly Brown at $100, thank you so much. Oh, look, this is another matching gift from Senator Annette Cleveland. Thank you so much for your gift of $500 gifts. We have Ann John at $250. Kenneth and Patricia Moyle at $200. Thank you so much. Jean Kent at $50. Sally Pond at $50. Giving again, Cheryl and Dave Pfaff at $500. Thank you, Cheryl and Dave. We appreciate you. Edward and Luann Barnes make a gift. Gary and Peggy Bowman make a gift as well. Michelle Thor, thank you for your $100 gift. We have another anonymous 100. Jill Timshell, thank you for your $100 gift. Mona McNeil at $100. Jessica Weiss at $100. Dawn Tolati at $50, thank you. Angela Sistema at $50. Elizabeth Wonder at $100. Heather Shepard, thank you for your gift. We have Adam Kravitz at $100. This is incredible, friends. There's so many names and I love it. Chartisha Roberts at $50. Donna Allison, thank you for your gift. Heather Cochran, thank you for your gift. Dale Ethely, thank you for your gift. Caitlin McKee, thank you at $100. Elizabeth Ecke at $100. Luke Vanderwild at $50, thank you. Jasmine Tolbert at $100. Carrie and Dan Davis at $50. Linda Reed at $100. We have Anna Keen making a gift, another anonymous gift. Michelle Teeples at $100. Rochelle Bagdasarian at $100, thank you. Lori Smith at $100. Joan Cayley giving again another $100. Y'all, this is incredible. There's so much support. I love it. David Burnett, thank you for your gift. Bob and Jan Verinder, thank you at $100. Thomas Breitenbach, thank you at $100. We have another anonymous 100. Jean and John DeVol Davidson making another gift. Thank you so very much. Molly Evgen at $50. James Jensen, thank you for your $100 gift. This is incredible. Daniel Cook at $250. Thank you so much. Mark Magoria at $100. Thank you. Joel Utali makes a gift. We have an anonymous gift. David and Louise Hedman make a gift of $250. Paxton Slater at $250. Another anonymous gift at $200. Wow. Robin Bradford at $100. Philip Eisensee at $100. Another anonymous $100 donor from an anonymous person out there. Thank you. Sarah Alo makes a gift, and Adrian Strelo giving again at $250. Wow, would you look at that thermometer, friends? This is incredible. We are at $210,000 of our $250,000 goal. I know we can make it. If you can make a gift, remember, we're still trying to make that full match at $500, so make another gift if you can. This is incredible. Your support continues to make ending homelessness for our neighbors in Clark County, so thank you for your generosity. Well, now I'd like to draw our 5 winners of the Early Bird RSVP. Each of them will be receiving a copy of Dr. Colburn's book, Homelessness is a Housing Problem. Are you ready? Let's find out who our 5 winners are. And it looks like our winners are Susan Lanford, Samantha Wolverton, Cicely Ferguson, Lisa Brainer, and Chuck Green. Congratulations to all of you. And now I want to announce our winner of the Watch Party guest list drawing, taking home $250 worth of Greater Vancouver Chambers of Commerce Grow the 360 certificates supporting local Clark County businesses. This is courtesy of Cheryl and Dave Pfaff. Thank you so much. Our winner is Kimberly Baker. Congratulations, Kimberly. Enjoy all those gift certificates. This is amazing. And finally, we have the winner of our Skamania Lodge package, courtesy again of Cheryl and Dave Pfaff to draw. Here we go. Our Skamania Lodge winner, Michelle Thor. Congratulations, Michelle, and have so much fun. Congratulations to all of our winners. This is amazing. Friends, we are already at $210,000 of our $250 goal. This is great. We have more gifts coming in. Giving again, Luis Nieto, thank you so much for your $300 gift. Keep those gifts coming, friends. We also matched another 3 gifts at $500, so we are well on our way. If you haven't made a gift yet, continue to support and keep the giving going. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who's given so far today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, I want to say congratulations to all our winners, and I want to also remind you of the Q&A with Dr. Greg Colburn, whose keynote we just heard. I don't know about you, but I have lots of questions. That will be moderated by Andy Silver of the Vancouver Housing Authority at 3 p.m. today. It is open to anyone, and we would love to see all of you there with us. The Zoom link for it is in the chat to the right of the screen and will also be sent out in an email shortly. Cheryl Pfaff, thank you. Another $500. Thank you so much. And oh my goodness, Bob and Carolyn Walwyn are giving $2,500. You all are so wonderful. Thank you. You can continue to give. Please do so. Thank you all so much for joining us today and supporting the work of Council for the Homeless. Have a great afternoon.